They are tasked with testing evidence from every agency in the state and are facing a crippling backlog that's not only affecting the court system, but also you and your family.
Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin is here to tell us why state police crime lab workers say there is a solution, but legislators have to step in. Leslie?
Callie, the numbers are astounding. The lab, the only crime lab that provides free forensic testing for all 55 counties, sees nearly 7,000 cases each year. But in some sections, the backlog is more than 1 year. They say they need more workers and they need them fast because innocent people could be sitting in jail, criminals could be roaming free. And as we speak, cases across the state are being dropped.
Meet Erin Spearin, a toxicology supervisor at the West Virginia State Police Crime Lab in South Charleston. She's the only fully trained technician in the lab's busiest and most backlogged section.
It's just overwhelming.
Spearin is tasked with keeping up with the staggering number of blood samples that come in from drugged and drunk driving cases. A section that saw just 300 cases a year in 2009 now has 1,300 cases on its plate.
DUIs are misdemeanors typically in the state of West Virginia, which means they only have a certain amount of time to be prosecuted. And right now I'm having a hard time meeting those deadlines, and multiple cases are being dismissed across the state due to lack of evidence from the lab.
The story is much the same across the 8 sections of the lab. As of June, the backlog came in at just under 5,000 cases, and it's not getting any better.
We don't like the fact that we are a year behind in some sections to get a result to an investigator. Those investigators are out there waiting for us to provide them something to use as an investigative lead. And if we're asking them to wait a year, then we're not providing a service to this state.
I could sit here and tell you right now that it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out that there's a solution to this problem.
A solution that would require money from the state budget, facing a $500 million deficit that would pay for and train 12 additional workers at the lab.
When you look at the cost to the state of having to constantly continue court cases and holding people in a regional jail until their trial date, we have figured that it would actually be a huge cost savings for this state to just give the lab the additional money that it needs to be properly funded and properly staffed and to be able to do the job that we're asked to do.
To properly staff all sections of the lab, Lemon says it needs about $1.3 million extra dollars.
When we're talking about budget cuts right now, it's a very difficult concept.
But she believes the state could save money in the long run if it's willing to spend it now, estimating that if just 10% of all cases in the state include incarceration, $6 million is being spent annually by counties on regional jail bills. State police data says the backlog is costing Kanawha County taxpayers alone $600,000 a year if 10% of the county's cases require a defendant to sit in jail. If that number is 25%, that number jumps to $1.5 million a year. The
numbers show that instead investing in our lab and having the appropriate amount of resources and manpower, that in long term, there's quite a bit of cost savings involved in it.
So how does this affect you? Well, let's say you're one of the thousands of people in the state that fall victim to a home break-in. The chances of your case's evidence being tested anytime soon are not good.
Even though all of our evidence is associated with a crime and they're all important, a burglary is going to be very far down on the list. We hate to think that a citizen in this state feels like their case is unimportant, and that's not it at all. But with what we have to work with, we have to prioritize. And so if you are a victim of that kind of a crime, it very well may be a year or two before you get anything from our lab.
Federal legislation will soon call for timely collection, submission, and testing of sexual assault kits to ensure justice for victims. That goal would be a 30 to 60-day turnaround. Right now, for a rape kit in West Virginia, you're looking at 496 days.
It's not even, I can't even comprehend it at this time.
The state of the State Police Crime Lab, and numbers they say will not improve until lawmakers step in.
So what's next? Well, in the past, the Crime Lab director has made pitches to the state breaking down these numbers and explaining why the lab needs that extra money. Lemon says she hopes to do the same again this year, even though everyone is well aware of the ongoing budget crisis. Reporting live in the studio, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.